the new Senate plan to draft women. I guess the draft is bumping into the issue. The Supreme Court has even kind of mentioned that if Congress didn't take this up, then maybe they would look at the issue. But making men only register for the draft is essentially a sexist policy at this point because women qualify for every role in the military that men do. Now, if you're a women's rights activist and you're arguing that the draft should only apply to men, you could point out that the Pentagon is a sexual assault slash rape factory. It's a huge issue there, an epidemic. They really don't have a handle on it. The Biden administration introduced some new kind of weak regulations, and so I think there's still cases to be made for women specifically not to qualify for the draft, just because I think they could argue that it puts them at a sharp increase risk that they would be subject to like a rape or sexual assault, and very likely that their perpetrator would not be held in any way responsible for that. But just kind of focusing on the current arguments that people are looking at, because that really doesn't enter into the public discussion. Yeah, they're very hush hush on that unless they're kind of talking about a Me Too issue, and that is that they're having to deal with the issue: do we get rid of the draft or do we expand it to women and just have everybody be involved in the draft? I would assume that when they said expand it to women, they really mean to expand it to everyone, and they wouldn't necessarily be I guess excluding people who identify with other than binary choices, but I have no idea how the military would handle that situation. Anyways, the Senate Armed Services Committee, in a closed door hearing, very interesting that they decided to do this. I believe Rhode Island Democrat Jack Reed is the chair of this committee, approved a amendment to the Senate version of the National Defense Authorization Act. This is for year 2022, that amends the Military Selective Service Act to require the registration of women for selective service. Now, I guess it'll be interesting if they'll make sure that the penalties that apply to men for not signing up for selective service would apply to women, or if this is something that women should do, but let's say they won't face losing financial aid to college, driver's licenses, fines, potential jail time for not signing up for the draft. So that's kind of most of what we have as far as what's happening. I don't think it's in the House version of the NDAA, at least not yet, and so that this could be a conference committee issue. It seems like it would be a very sleight of hand trick of Congress to pass this as an amendment to the National Defense Authorization Act, which is the funding bill for the Pentagon, which every year they argue that, we can't not in any way risk not funding this bill because it would leave us defenseless and our troops unpaid and all these other terrible things would happen. And so the Congress isn't even brave enough to actually vote on the issue. They're just trying to kind of sneak it in back door. And again, I think this is largely a way for Congress to not really have to deal with the issue that the draft is sexist against men, and they should have to really deal with a bill that either expands the draft or eliminates that, although that would be tough votes for all the congressmen. Now, of course, my position is hell no on the draft. We shouldn't be expanding it to women. It should be abolished. It could be abolished in any number of ways. The president could say we're not enforcing it anymore. Congress could, write in a bill and then pass it and say that we're abolishing the draft. The courts could strike it down because it's essentially slavery, where you're taking away somebody's free choice. You're either saying your choices now are prison, or you're going to go to another country and potentially kill somebody else or be killed yourself for a mission that you may or not believe in or care about at all. And so that's why we absolutely have to oppose the draft. We have to oppose this. If it starts to move forward and gain some momentum, I'll definitely talk about it on the show more. At this point, again, we're only at the conference committee level of the Senate version of the NDAA for this. However, again, if we expand the draft to everyone, that's really going to hamper one of the main arguments against it, which is that it's sexist, and rather than coming up on the end of the draft in the United States, we could actually be looking at extending it decades into the future, if the Senate moves and the Congress moves forward, and of course Biden passes this.